one of the many places that I call home. I was born and raised there for 15 years before I moved to Jersey, and then from Jersey to Minnesota 8 years ago. So I'm always happy when I'm able to share traces of my own in my other home, within my other home. So I'm happy that you guys are here to experience that. Next to me is Malanda Jean Claude. Give it up for Malanda Jean Claude. Test your mic. Yeah, is it on? Yep. Olu, let's get Malanda on the mic as well. Malanda and I have been friends for over 6 years now. So we've had this conversation many, many times. So I'll let him do the introduction, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Hey, how you guys doing? Like you said, my name is Malanda. I am a writer and a longtime friend. I think it's been longer than 6.
Yeah, a long time.
We won't count. But today, my job, like I was telling you, is to try and serve your message and try my best to be able to give you the vehicle so that you can tell your story.
Right.
So I'm just gonna ask you a few questions. But before we get into all of that, I'm gonna read a bio. So for those who don't know him personally, you will have an understanding at least of like his background, what he does, and things like that. So I'll get into that and we'll get going. His bio. Taoheed Bayo is a 26-year-old performance artist and a nomad, born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria. Sorry if I butchered that. He spent the first 15 years of his life in a small town in Lagos before relocating to the U.S. in 2013 in pursuit of higher education and new opportunities. His journey to the U.S. was driven by a voluntary displacement aimed at bettering himself and his family. As an immigrant, Taoheed is deeply committed to bringing his culture to the forefront. He feels a profound responsibility to preserve narratives around his indigenous culture that tells the stories and reflect the lived experiences of his people. As a self-proclaimed Afro-diasporic American, he embodies a blend of many cultures, combining his Yoruba heritage with his assimilation of the American culture over the past decade. Taoheed's art is an expression of his dedication to the world. Please help me welcome the man who made tonight possible. We call him T-Buzz. T-Buzz.
Thank you. What's going on?
The first thing that I kind of want to get into, I want to ask you a little bit about your early inspirations.
Right.
And how those inspirations got you into thinking about art or creating art.
Right.
Just kind of walk us through a little bit of that.
Right. I think 2017 I was casted as a model by a friend of mine named Seth. And at the time, I was going to uni and studying mathematics, so I had no clue what this art modeling what it was. But I was very curious. And with that, started many photo shoots with some people in the audience, Paul, Mark, Malanda himself, many, countless photo shoots. And in doing so, I think there was a natural evolution with my art. So I started from being in front of the camera to now being behind the camera and directing, to filmmaking, dance. But I would say even continuously, I'm always inspired by life. By friends, by family, by the little things. Every time I'm traveling, there's always something that reminds me of like things to breathe life into. I think my inspiration is seeing things that I can bring life into. Or things that brings life into me. So, our sunsets in Minnesota, seaside in Tenerife, late night conversation, wherever city. I think those are the things that really inspire me to create art, because I want to, one, share the many things that has influenced me, to contribute to this ecosystem of ours that is ever growing and ever changing. So I think those are the few things that continue to inspire me or inspired me.
No, that's really dope, bro. I want to understand a little bit about like how you think growing up in Nigeria has influenced your art.
Right.
Because I see, whoa, it's off, oh my bad. I see traces of your culture into everything that you do, whether you dance too. I don't know if people know that, but your dance, you write, your films. I want to know how your culture, or you growing up in Nigeria, how has that been integrated into your art?
Yeah, I think like with being Nigerian, and I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of Nigerians, I think a core of who we are and our identity is having the ability to control the narrative or preserve the narrative. I think as Nigerians, we have this pride in being able to tell our own story in our own way with our own voice. So with my art, every time I'm creating something, I think even sometimes subconsciously, the Nigerian in me would creep in.
As it should. I don't think you can ever really leave your roots. I think in order for work to be powerful, your roots, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be a different country, but whatever that is, I feel like in order for your work to really say something, you can't neglect where you've been. So I can see that.
Absolutely. I think like with myself and a lot of people here that might be immigrants, I think there's this umbilical cord that connects, no matter how far away we go, there's this cord that connects us back to that roots. And I think with me, with, you know, jumping all these planes and like just spaces, that umbilical cord just stretches and stretches and stretches. And then in doing so, it attracts many more things. So this one singular thing now is now expanded and become the many, many things that I have expanded into becoming. So I think that's how Lagos has and continue to influence my work. And
I like the idea of an umbilical cord, because we think when I think about umbilical cord, I think about my mother, or I think about how that connects to my original home, right? My mom,
Genesis.
Right? And I remember when I was younger, my mom used to actually tell me, like, you know, it doesn't really matter where you go. There's an invisible umbilical cord that connects us no matter what we do. So I like that you envision an umbilical cord as like the thing that keeps you connected to your home. And we, like I said, we see traces of that in all of your work. So I think it's really beautiful that you've been able to keep those roots, and you continue to push forth that message, whatever it is, through that lens. Because, you know, some of us, I feel like when you grow up in a place, you can be really ignorant to other people's cultures, so that when they add some elements of where they're from into what it is that they do, we all learn. Like I've learned so much knowing you, knowing Paul, knowing other people whose cultures I had no idea even existed, really. So it's really dope. Continue to do that. What prompts you to move from, because me and you have been talking a lot about movement.
Right.
First of all, before I even get to the second question, I'll ask you this. What moves you, if you could generalize that, what moves T-Buds?
That's a very interesting question. I think, you know, sometimes I would have conversations with friends, near, far, and I always find resonance in, we could be talking about anything.
Yeah.
And I would still find resonance. And I think in doing so, you know, we can talk about football, art, sport, anything, right? I think knowing that there is resonance in almost everything that is surrounding me, I feel stimuli to a lot of many things around me. I think understanding those tonalities and the different modulations of the things that are around me just naturally moves me. My curiosities moves me. My intentionality in nurturing relationship moves me. The thirst to see new faces and meet new places moves me. Those are the many things that make me move continuously.
You should drop a poetry book, bro. That was dope. So my second question to follow up with that is, what what was your transition like? Because you said that you used to be mostly in front of the camera, and now you're mostly behind the scenes doing a few things, doing a few projects here and there. What was that shift like, that movement from being seen to being in the background? Still seen, because obviously you have everybody here,
Right.
but what was that transition like for you?
It was very seamless, actually. I think with a lot of us artists and non-art people that don't participate or are naturally creating, I think there's usually evolution, whatever that we are doing. And I think for me, I have constantly embraced that evolution. What they say, it takes 3 months for something to become an habit, something along those lines. So for me,
You're the math guy.
Huh?
You're the math guy.
Some days. I think naturally, as I was always in front of the camera, modeling, dancing, I think naturally there was going to be an evolution that I know and I was very conscious of. And in that consciousness, I was, okay, I'm going to be intentional about what comes next. Do I want to start making films?
Right.
Do I want to write? Do I want to make a book? And I think the answers to those questions then became yes. I want to make a book. I want to make a film. I want to direct a book. So I think, yeah, it was seamless. I don't even recall like there being any hindrance or like any blockages in that transition. I felt like I was just naturally born to convey these messages. So from being in front of the camera, I was still telling messages, I was still telling stories. Now I feel like maybe I have more control.
So you didn't feel in control before?
In a way, because sometimes you be invited to a photo shoot and you show up and there's a concept, there's everything like drawn up by somebody else. I think with me now, luckily enough, over the years, I have evolved, and now I am the guy now that
telling people what to do.
Yeah, so I think there's beauty and power in being able to like, again, own that narrative and like preserve it in my own voice, in my own language. So yeah.
What's your relationship like with fear? Because like for a lot of people, just to give you some context, like a lot of people when they're going from one thing to the next thing,
Right.
you experience a lot of people experience a lot of anxiety, self-doubt, or even like what other people might be thinking about them changing into a new space, right? So, what is your relationship with fear? Did you have any doubts, fear? Like what was going on through your mind? Did it come up at any point?
Oh, absolutely. I think like the fear is inevitable, and I think in knowing that, I embrace it.
Okay.
There's so many things we're fearful of, not just even art. There's certain things that has happened in our life that create fear. So for me, I've learned to embrace the many fears that I have, and then alchemize that.
Okay. You find freedom in that, I think,
Exactly.
because you're a daredevil.
Yes, exactly. Even in the title of the book, it's funny. It's move. I dare you. I feel like the opposite side of that is the fear that I have conquered. Now I am there myself, and at the same time, daring others and inviting them on to do the same. So yeah.
Okay, I like that. What is freedom to you?
Man, I think freedom for me is being able to be in constant exchange with different people from different background, being in constant exchange with different places. I think that's freedom. I think in traveling, I have met so many beautiful faces and seen so many beautiful places and heard so many beautiful things. I think for me, being able to adapt and attract those things and expand with those things being a part of me now, I think that is freedom. I think the shedding of old skin and being able to attract the many new things that are like now showing up in my environment and showing up in my conversations as I have grown.
Right.
I think that is freedom, and I think there's luxury in that as well.
Right.
There is luxury in that freedom. So yeah.
What luxury do you think that you have now that you found that freedom? That you kind of, because I feel like once you get to a place and awareness, a certain space of awareness, you're able to spot things that other people might be struggling with. So now that you have found your freedom, can you see the luxury that other people don't have in terms of just like being able, because like I'll be talking to you today, tomorrow you're in London or you're somewhere else, right? Like I look at that as like, it's luxury, right? And not luxury because you can afford travel, but just the luxury to be able to dare yourself to move and actually make that move. Are you able to see where people are a little stuck in terms of like people haven't found that freedom or find it as like a luxury to explore?
Yeah. I think, like you said, even myself, at times I have to sit down and remind myself of where I'm going next, what I'm doing next. I think, to answer your question, the luxury for me is knowing that I think maybe now I'm more familiar with what is on the other side. I'm more familiar with the discomfort that comes from leaving my comfort zone. I'm more familiar with the knowledge that staying in one place is almost isolating and stagnant. And I think with that knowledge, I'm constantly looking for little things that would mold me, like this metamorphosis of, these little things that will mold me and just expand. I think that expansion,
My next question comes from a conversation that I'm recalling right now when we were talking a few weeks back. And you said something, I wrote it down, I don't even think you know, but you said certainty is a layered conviction, right? And I kind of want you to go a little further into that, how this freedom that you've been able to find, that it is a luxury to have your consciousness open up to a new world that will allow you to be able to explore and stuff like that. How were you able, and what gives you the confidence to keep trying to expand your freedom?
You've asked that question. I think you asked that question last week as well.
Because we're talking about movement,
I think with every trip, it has become a manifestation.
Yeah.
Every time I'm traveling, there's this intentionality behind that travel, and with every trip becoming a manifestation, every prayer, or every conversation, every project has become then a prayer to God. So that keeps me going.
That's real.
Every flight that I buy, every train that I take is it's like this exercise of gratitude to God.
That's beautiful.
A prayer like, thank you for allowing me to do this. And in doing so, it multiplies, the trips multiply. And as I've grown older, I keep saying grow older because when I started with this traveling, it was very much, they used to call me cruise TV. They used to call me cruise TV because it really started as a form of self-discovery and self-exploration. But as time has went on, I have felt this inherited responsibility to continue to travel because I know how much of an invitation that is for myself to continue, for my friends to travel, and for people that know me from afar to also travel. So
that's really beautiful, bro. We're gonna shift gears a little bit. We're gonna talk a little bit about your book and that process.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about the creative process. I feel like when people see a physical book or a physical piece of art that comes manifest, it could feel very mysterious for people who are experiencing it as a consumer, or even people who are just supporting you. Can you give us some insight into your approach with this particular project, and also like why the photos that you chose, and what story are you trying to tell with those photos?
I had this conversation with somebody in London, actually, at the launch in London, and they were like, why this approach? Why the book? Why this pages? What's the process like?
Yeah.
And I think with me, in making the book, I felt a part of an ecosystem. In just existing, I've consumed so much from friends, people from afar, from the internet. I think in making the book, I wanted to contribute to that ecosystem, contribute to my world, contribute to the world, and give back in a way. I think that's the beginning of a lot of my project. Is okay. I know I'm in this ecosystem. I know I've seen so many references. I've seen so many things on the internet. I've had so many conversations that has contributed to who I am. Now, how do I pay back that, or how do I pay it forward? And I had this conversation with Rio as well, and we spoke about how the chicken eats the earthworm, and then we eat the chicken, and then when we die, the earthworm eats us, and then the chicken eats the earthworm, and then that cycle continues.
Ecosystem.
I've become so aware of the ecosystem and ecology in that when I create something, the other guy is gonna see that and create something. And so even when I'm not here anymore, and if the person can't see mine, they will see what that person created, and then that cycle then becomes endless. And so the beautiful thing about that is it doesn't even have to be a book. This book and the other stuff I worked on were influenced by conversation, music. So I've been able to take from my ecosystem and make a portion and create a book or create a film.
Right.
Somebody else might see my book and be inspired to dance. They might see my book and be inspired to continue in life. So knowing that I'm a part of an ecosystem, I'm part of something larger than I am, and then I need to play my role, I'm very aware of that. I know I'm a role player. I'm producing, somebody's gonna consume, somebody else is gonna produce, I'm gonna consume. So the knowledge of that is really what, inspires me to continue as well.
No, that's really beautiful because it reminds me of kind of like what you said earlier about gratitude. It's like a symbiotic relationship that you have to the ecosystem, knowing that it's fed you. Exactly. So what you can do, what you can give back is just a little bit of life, a little bit of experience, and somebody might be inspired. And that's the thing too, you never know who's inspired.
Yeah.
You never know who is looking. But that brings me to my next question. I think we also spoke about this a little bit, but what do you think people who are bearing witness to your movement, people who are bearing witness to your journey as an artist, as a man, and your evolution, what do you think you're giving them? Well, like, what do you believe you're giving them?
I think I exuberate this pride in a lot of work that I do, be it film, be it book. I think that pride and grace in itself is an invitation to whoever is paying attention. I think that I've even had people talk to me and say, hey, the work you, even in one of the voice memos that we listened to earlier, I think a friend said, the work you created made me wake up today and want to create. So I have evidence of that from people calling me, texting me like, yo, the work you created made me want to do this. The film you made, that's one of the most powerful things about creating art, is that I've had messages from people saying, the work you made me make something. I'm like, whoa, when did I have that power? Yeah. Knowing that like the things that I'm contributing is inspiring somebody, I have that knowledge. I think that is something that I know people that are witnessing me see. I think another thing is joy. I think in a lot of my work, you can see this playfulness in my work. I think a lot, when I have conversation with people, I'm always like, art and play. Art and play. And we spoke about it with Paul as well. We spoke about how artists are like children. We're just nutty. We're nutty beings.
What's that quote that says, it says, an artist is a child who survived.
Exactly.
Because like, I feel like a lot of times when we grow older. Which doesn't always equate to maturity, but we grow older. We lose a sense of wonder and curiosity.
Right.
So to be able to like see you kind of keep that playfulness, it's really beautiful to witness, right? But also, I guess this could lead me into my next question as well. Like, do you feel the pressure sometimes to just be like the light of people's lives all the time, or like how does that?
Ooh, that's a very good question. And my mom used to say this, like a lot of Yoruba moms or people that speak Yoruba say this. They say, it means when you light a candle, the the circumference, that's the immediate circumference of the candle is usually dark, and everything else is light.
Ooh, that's hard.
So then, imagine me as the candle. Sometimes my immediate circumference is dark.
Yeah.
And then everybody else sees this light.
Yep.
And you get this joy from the thing that I'm creating. And I think what then eventually lightens my day or brightens me up is when I feel the impact that I've been able to contribute to the world, when I notice that my frequency is now matched somebody else's frequency. That then lights me, that keeps me lit. Because as much as I am creating and contributing these things, there are days that there's not the brightest things in my life, and there's dark days. Even in the making of the book, there were dark days. I think knowing that with whatever process you are signing up for, you're also signing up for the dark days. I think a lot of artists and people that are just out there wanting to contribute and create things, there will be dark days. That's inevitable. I think then it's holding on to what brings the light. My friends bring the light. My parents bring the light. The impact that I know I'm making around the world brings the light. So, yeah.
That's really beautiful, bro. Just gonna take a pause real quick. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's beautiful, bro. Give a hand for it, T-Brother. Let's move on a little bit. Through creating this photo book, and through your travels, going back home, feeling the sand, hopping on that horse.
I had to pay for that one.
Like, is there something that stands out to you that is memorable? That, I don't know, like kind of like what you were talking about, the candle. Like when when your space is dark, what like a part of your memory, like what lights up sometimes, like when you have to remember, like, this is why I do it. Like, do you have a memory? Do you have an encounter, a conversation?
Absolutely.
That stands out to you?
Absolutely. I think, so when I went back in 2022, December, which is when the documentary was made, I went to celebrate my sister's wedding. She was getting married. And I remember being on the dance floor, dancing, and taking like a few steps back and just like observing what's going on. And I saw my mom and my sister, my two sisters, dancing with my mom when my sister was getting married. And I just stood there. I recorded a video, took photos, and then I put my phone away, and I just stood there and just admired the luxury that life has afforded me. That moment to me holds so much power. That photo, I still haven't shared that photo with the world.
It's not in the book?
It's not in the book.
Okay.
It's not, I still haven't shared it because I think I'm holding that memory so dear to my heart. Because it warms me up when things are not going so well. And I remember the woman that I come from. I think I've been lucky enough to experience so many great women in my lifetime. In relationships that are romantic or platonic, in agape relationship with my moms and my sister, I've experienced so much nurture, so much warmth in life, and I know it comes from women. That's just the natural state. The natural being of women is that warmness, and I think looking at my mom and my sister dancing on the dance floor that day, and I can still paint a picture of that day as well. The dates, the time, everything is so vivid.
Yeah.
Every time I think back at that moment, I'm just like, wow, I'm so lucky, I'm so privileged to be able to recall and call upon these memories. So many people want to see their mom dance. So many people want to see their sister experience joy. And I've been lucky enough to experience that many, many, many times. So yeah, these are things that when the circumference gets dark, it doesn't take long for it to light up again because I have so much light around me. And friends as well that, the light cannot be dark for too long because my friends wouldn't even let it.
We'll drag you out real quick.
Exactly, so those are things that back me up.
Before I open it up for Q&A, I just want to say this, like, it's been really beautiful to watch you grow. It's been really beautiful to see you create and the life that you give to the spaces that you go, right? Whether that's the art that you're creating, whether it's a conversation that you're having. I think it's beautiful. And just kind of going back and pinpointing of like, you know, that photo that you're talking about that you haven't been able to share, in my opinion, keep that, right? Because I think sometimes as an artist, we have this almost like want and need for people to see everything that we make, right? And sometimes you have to keep a part to yourself because you are going to have some of those dark days and some of those dark moments. And what happens when you've given everything that you are to everybody else and you can't keep a little bit for you? You know what I'm saying? So if you have some more of those memories, some more of those photographs, or even film or whatever that we haven't seen, don't feel the need to share everything. Because I think there is something beautiful about keeping something for your heart. So when you need it, you can go there. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a place where everybody can touch. I just wanted to kind of just offer that to you. And
Thank you.
we're going to open it up for Q&A. If anybody has a question for T-Buzz, feel free, and I'll bring the mic to you.
And it could range from anything, from the process, to the work, to the films, to the photos.
Well, first off, I have to say, it's like, you know, astonishing to see you express yourself. So, I don't know, like, I just applaud you for that. But,
Thank you.
You're welcome. More or less my question was, you know, being someone who comes from a foreign family, you know, like, the typical career is go somewhere in the medical field. So, I know, how did it feel this way, you know, the arts? Yeah.
It's so funny. I always tell my friend that art actually pursued me because I was too busy. I was too busy pursuing the science. I actually, funny enough, have a degree in mathematics. So just like you, with the many immigrant parents, that wasn't even a choice. Getting the degree was step one. Was getting the degree. So I went to school for mathematics, finished about 4 years ago. In doing so, that afforded me a freedom as well, actually. And I'm really glad I stuck to it and finished, because a lot of these trips sometimes are funded by work that I do with mathematics. I love math as well, just naturally. So I enjoy both. I enjoy the mathematics part, but I think the art found me through the many, many people that want to create through me, and I've made me a vessel. I think that's another thing that Malanda and I were talking about the other day, is that I have become this vessel for so many people. When I was a model, I was a vessel. Now that I'm creating films, I'm still a vessel. Now that I'm making books, I'm still a vessel. And Malanda said in our conversation 2 years ago that I'm just this echo reaching out, hoping that somebody match that frequency and that echo reaches somebody else. And with echo, it might bounce off a wall before it reaches you. It might bounce off the floor before it reaches you. But yes, I'm still reaching out. And for me, art is that echo. Creating art, films, whatever it is that I'm creating or bringing life into, I know it is an echo. I know I have this vessel with me. And that's why I'm more so in my art bag now than in my math bag. But yeah, I think mathematics is still a daily thing for me. I do math work Monday to Friday. So yeah.
Anybody else has a question? Here, I got you.
So studying math in school, you look at a lot of patterns, right?
Mm.
In your life, I heard you say this earlier, but I'm able to elaborate on like the patterns that you've been able to like consciously be aware of in your life. Because like a lot of us are speaking for myself, being like hyper aware, but sometimes like letting that totally engulf me in the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, more of a guide and a teacher. So, and getting caught up in the cycle instead of like noticing it and then like polarizing it and moving in the opposite direction. I kind of like that was like the chaos.
I see. Right.
As an artist, I feel like it's useful for my art and like understanding life in general.
Mm-hmm.
For me specifically, but for you, like, what are some cycles that you can understand?
Yeah, I think to what you said, when I notice these patterns, instead of running away from them, I sit and sometimes do it again to see why I do it. Am I responding to something? Am I responding to a memory? Am I responding to my environment? And then in noticing that patterns, like you said, and then I would, it's almost like chemistry. You see something, okay, this is H, this is 2, this is O. I'm gonna use this hydrogen and oxygen to make water. I'm gonna use these patterns to make this. I'm gonna take these memories that keep coming back to create this work. And then the patterns can be good or bad, but usually I just let it pass through me, and then in doing so, I'm able to alchemize it. Because I think for me, everything that I've learned to do, one thing that my mom has taught me to do is just embrace everything. I felt like I continue to feel like a magnet for a lot of things, and instead of repelling it, I feel like I'm actually attracting it. And in being intentional, I have on my state has created a filter. If something does not serve me, naturally, it would filter itself out in weeks, in days, and some takes years. But yeah, I think that's how I embrace those patterns and just alchemize it and make something good of it. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
180 strand.
180 strand. So 180 strand.
Where's your heading going?
Is anywhere, man. Is so many places for me. Back to 180 strand. Shout out to my boy San. Last year, he had a show in a place called 180 Strand in London. And I remember like giggling with him in the DMs like, yo, congrats, big up, I'm next. And then this year, I went to launch my book in London in April, and it was in the same space, the same setup, the same space. So we share that commonality with 180 Strand, Temple, 2 around the street, Temple Station. Yeah, so we share that commonality. Where am I going next? Honestly, I'm so grateful for the privilege that is life. And to me, tomorrow sometimes seems so far away for me. And sometimes tomorrow feels like right now. I think like I am living in a future where everything feels so near. And so when I think about the future, or when I think about 10 years, sometimes it feels like what happens tomorrow is 10 years for me. Where I'm going next, if I'm being honest with you, I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Mexico next week. And I say that to say, I know being in Mexico, I'm going to be in so many worlds. I'm going to be in so many memories. I'm going to be in so many moments. That's where I'm going next. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to those memories, those moments, and then creating a montage from that. Memories, and yeah, that's where I'm going next.
Why Mexico?
Why Mexico? What? Oh, I'm going to Puerto Peñasco. It's like a port beach next to the water, the waves, the seafood. I can already imagine, you know, you sit down and you romanticize. One thing that I love about who I am is being able to find romance in everything. I've spent time in romanticizing Mexico already. I'm like, the seafood, I'm gonna get my cigar, I'm gonna take shirtless pictures. Like, I'm already imagining the thing that I'm going to do there. So yeah, that's why it's Mexico. And I think keeping that romance in my living, in my existence is so important, because that is what keeps me going sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to look forward to things, even if it's exciting stuff, because you're so caught up in the process, the ticket, the billing, whatever it is. But being able to romanticize what comes next is what, gets me going. So, yeah, shout out to Mexico.
We have space for 2 more questions. Anybody else? Cool.
Hey, Sean.
My bad, bro.
Hello.
Questions, man. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Social media is a big tool for you that you use to make your friends connections while you're traveling.
Yeah. I mean, everything really started on social media for me as well. So with modeling, Paul here, we used to shoot sometimes and post the same day, 4 or 5 years ago. We do the shoot at 12 p.m. and then these were the days of when Instagram, you had to post at a certain time to get a certain engagement. We do the shoot by 12 p.m. We know by 2:24, the shoot gotta be out. So we're sitting there shooting straight from the SD card to the laptop and posting on social media to answer your question. And we know that social media, again, like I said, is a form of reaching out and finding connections, finding echoes, and finding people that would resonate with your work. I've been blessed to meet so many amazing people over social media. When I went to London 3 years ago, I went with Mark and another friend, Charles. We knew nobody in London, but with the power of social media, we DM'd a few people that we thought their work was nice and we wanted to work with. We DM'd a few people that we felt the energy and vibe resonated with us and connected with them. And then being intentional, I think that's one thing that I've learned with social media, that it could be a trap, it could be, so many bad things. But for me, I've been able to, I still, endlessly scroll into doom. I'm guilty of that too. But I think I've been able to also see the positive side of that in using that to connect with so many people. I have friends everywhere. Some places I've never even been to, but I know I have a friend there because we've connected over social media and we've, I would always advise though from social media to move that connection to WhatsApp, move that connection to a voice message, a text message, because then it kind of strengthens that whoever it is that you're trying to build with that person. So I've been able to intentionally practice that. I meet people on social media, we exchange phone numbers. The next time I'm in town, we're grabbing dinners, we're grabbing lunch. So finding a way to extend that social media network connection into real life relationships that you then nurture. And Malanda and I have created art for 6 years, but I took intentionally nurturing this relationship. I think which I'm still guilty of. There's certain relationships that I want to even nurture more because I'm starting to learn the importance of actually watering and keeping these flowers in our relationship blooming, because it's so important to honor those relationships and nurture them. So yeah, I think social media has been a portal of networking and relationships for me.
Last question. Okay. I want to say thank you for everybody who came. In the back, you could write a note on a whiteboard. You could leave a note for T-Buzz. You could write a question, any thoughts, anything that stood out to you. On this side right here, you can actually buy the book. I think there's they could preview a book too, right?
Yeah, there's a few.
There's a few books.
2 copies there where you can open the pages through.
There's a few copies that you can look through. But yeah, support his work.
There's also snacks.
I'm not
I was gonna make sure they don't waste my
I'm trying to plug you.
Let the people eat.
They gonna get to it. Yeah, but support his work for real, because I think it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to be able to make something happen that is physical. You know what I mean? So for you to be able to, if you support this work, it will allow him to be able to create more things that we can all enjoy and we can all come to. But also shout out to Quay. Thank you for the music. That was super fire. That's really dope.
Shout out to Sabrina in the corner somewhere. She set up all the projections and we went back and forth for a few weeks to see what works, what wouldn't work. And shout out to Malanda for willingly. I didn't even ask before he said yes to hosting this conversation. So shout out to Malanda for making room for me and continue to show up for me. So to my point though, there is snacks. Don't waste my snacks. There is snacks and juice and water in the corner over there. There's posters and postcards here as well that you can take for free. There'll be music for another 30 minutes. So hang around, mingle, converse, dance, groove, and yeah.
Thank you, y'all.
Thank you.
Good job, my boy.
My brother. Love. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Hello. Let me put this down.
I know it's so good. I feel like you should stand. I think the pillar.
By the wall?
Or like.
No, ma. No. Nothing crazy, nothing
I'm
crazy.
gonna take this up there.
Okay. Oh my God.
Amazing.
Right,
Proud of you,
appreciate it.
brother.
Love.
You did great.
Wait, can you
Thank
grab
you.
these?
Thank you so much. Thank
I
you.
want them to.
I've said it like 500 times.
Yup.
All right. I'm used to it. Bathrooms are like $2 over there.
Okay, done.
Yep. Let me get my book. My postcards. Woo! My brother. Thank you so much for coming over. Of course. Love still. We're gonna
was good.
get drinks. I'll text you.
That was good.
No, let me text you right now.
I wanted him to, talk about this. Like,
Okay.
go
All right, bet.
into it. You feel me?
I don't know. Hang around.
Hey man, I'm just like,
I do actually.
and I think sometimes hosts do this thing where
Hey,
they
my
start to
flowers.
interrupt so much.
French flowers. Thank you.
Because you never know because if you stop
Chocolate with you.
somebody, you don't know
Chocolate
where
with
they're
you.
gonna go, right? And based on some of the things that he was saying, like we can expand on that a little more, because we've had so many conversations where it's like, this is not it.
Hello.
There's more.
Thank you so
There's
much.
more. So I kept just trying to just talk.
Thank you.
And I'm not gonna